All right, thank you very much for joining me. Welcome to Resident Evil Relaxation. This is Gulpain, and today we're doing a tier maker for the Resident Evil games. So let's have a quick look just at tiermaker.com here, and just picked one of the already made tiers. So I do love Resident Evil myself. I'm a bit of a Resident Evil nut, and I just thought I'd rank the games just to see see if I agree with other people, because I've looked at other people's tier lists as well, and a lot of them have sort of different games at the top than I would have. So I'd be very interested to know what you guys, what's your favorite Resident Evil games as well. Of course, let me know in the comments. So let's get back to the Resident Evil Relaxation. Alright, here we go. So, right, first up we have Resident Evil Original. Now, I don't really... It's okay. I think I'm going to put this into B, actually. Resident Evil Original. I don't have a lot of experience with the original Resident Evil game because I didn't actually play it when it came out. The first Resident Evil game I played was Resident Evil 2. So, I don't know. It's good, like. I mean, what can you say? When you compare it to the remake, though, the remake is so much better. So then it kind of... I don't know. I don't really play it that much. I have watched a lot of people play it. All right, I think I completed it with Jill and Chris maybe, but it was years ago. It was just because I wanted to play another sort of like tank controlled Resident Evil game. But original Resident Evil, I'm gonna put it in B there. Maybe A. No, we'll leave it in B because I probably wouldn't pick it up and play it. Um, as frequently as these other games here. Right, Resident Evil 2, well, that's going straight into S anyway, because that's probably the best Resident Evil game ever. Maybe the Resident Evil 2 remake tops it, but fantastic game. I love the story in it. The pacing in it is excellent as well, and I could pick it up and play it right now. It's such an excellent game, and I really like the Leon B, Claire A scenarios, and then obviously you play Leon B, Claire A as well, or Leon A, Claire B, in those orders. Then you complete it over and over again to get the other characters, Hunk and Tofu, etc. But Resident Evil 2, fantastic, and the replayability of it is excellent as well. Right, Nemesis then. I'm going to go Nemesis. I'm going to put that into A. It's really good. It wasn't as good as Resident Evil 2, but it was still really good. It's a different type of game. Although it's the same sort of vein as Resident Evil 2, but you only have one character. I mean, you don't have two different, scenarios to play. So you've only got one scenario, which I don't know, was a bit of a downgrade from the first one. Um, because the first and second ones, there's two different characters you can pick. Obviously, Jill and Chris in Resident Evil 1, and then Claire and Leon in Resident Evil 2. But in Resident Evil 3, you just get Jill, which is still good because I really like Jill, and you get Carlos as well, but you don't have the same replay value. Although the mercenary missions are very good in Resident Evil 3. Right, Code Veronica then is another strange one because I'm going to put that Code Veronica in A as well. Um, Code Veronica is probably one of my favorite Resident Evil games, but it's really difficult, and then it's very long as well compared to the other ones. So I know you could speed run it, in very very quick times. But I like to take my time with Resident Evil games, and enjoy them. You know, as the name suggests, Resident Evil Relaxation. So basically, Resident Evil Code Veronica. Again, you've only got Claire, and later on you control Chris as well, and also you have your partner, Steve, Leonardo DiCaprio. But I don't know. It's just I wouldn't put it in the same vein as Resident Evil 2. Maybe I could. I suppose I could easily put it up in S, but we'll leave it here in A for a second. Then the Resident Evil original remake, then possibly the greatest remake of a game ever, because it took everything about the original game and then basically just made it like so much better. You know, the graphics are amazing, even like from 20 years ago, and it still looks awesome on uh, the um, the HD upgrade. Now I'm going to put it at A because it's excellent. It is an excellent remake. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the addition of like the extra floors in the mansion. Even when I went back and played Resident Evil 1 a while ago after playing the remake, I was still doing the route I would take from Resident Evil 1 remake. So like as in when you meet the first zombie, when he's eating the stars member on the floor, there's no there's no room, or there's no ladder at the top left ladder. There's no stairs at the top left. Um, and a lot of things are different. It's shorter as well. The addition of Lisa Trevor and that sort of story as well, it just makes Resident Evil remake just the perfect remake. It's absolutely fantastic. Or Resident Evil Zero then. I put Resident Evil Zero in the top. A lot of people wouldn't do that because of the. I know there's a lot of people complain about if you run out of ammo, you're just screwed. Um, and you might have to reset, but I don't mind that. I really like the story. Plus, I like Billy, and I like the co-op element of it as well, where you switch between the characters, and you've always got someone with you. Plus, the graphics in it are just like so good. Like the detail on the backgrounds is absolutely excellent. And I know you have to carry around the hook shot, and there's all these really annoying bits in it, but I don't know. I really like Resident Evil Zero. Resident Evil 4. Then I'm going to put Resident Evil 4 in B because I'm not really a huge fan of the Resident Evil games after Resident Evil, sort of after Code Veronica. Resident Evil 4 is good, but it's too actiony. It is an excellent game, and there's like it actually has the best mercenary missions, like the post game stuff. I think Resident Evil 4 probably has the best ones because the mercenary missions are just perfect. They tried the mercenary missions in other games as well, even with some of the games are just mercenary missions. But Resident Evil 4 mercenary missions are amazing. They're not too there's not too much in them. They're not too complicated, and they're not too simplistic. They're just excellent. The story in Resident Evil 4 is okay as well, but I don't know. It's just there's just something preventing it. It's too actiony, I think. I like the survival horror better. Resident Evil 5 then, I put in the same vein as Resident Evil 4. Maybe a bit better actually, because I really like Sheva. Put that into 1, into A. I'll leave it at B there. I really like Sheva. She's an excellent character. And I don't know, it is a bit too actiony as well. It is good though. And you can kind of, they do kind of bring the thing where you can not level up but improve weapons and stuff like that. But for me, in Resident Evil 5, once you get the stun baton, I just use that for the whole game. Obviously, apart from the bosses. But yeah, Resident Evil 5, yeah, it is pretty good though. Right, Resident Evil Revelations then. So I was a bit disappointed with Revelations, but I'm still going to put it. Actually, yeah, I'll put it there. It still is good because it has Chris and Jill in it. Some familiar characters, and the setting is okay as well. It's on a boat, and then you've got it's done in like an episodic formula. But you have to remember as well. Like I always forget this, but it was a 3DS game, so it's going to be limited by the 3DS. And the story is like from one of the sort of the animated movies of Resident Evil. But Resident Evil Revelation is okay. The enemy design are so stupid. They're just like lacking in detail. They're worse than the mole monsters in Resident Evil 7. They're not zombies. They don't really have any like characteristics. They're just like, I don't know, like they're just like grey things. So it's okay. The story's okay as well. Um, yeah, Resident Evil, leave it there. Resident Evil 6, I'm going to put it in B as well. I do like the Leon campaign with Helena. I think that's excellent. That's like classic Resident Evil has zombies. Then the Chris campaign is just, it's okay, but it's just too actiony, or it's too, I don't know, like Call of Duty, or I don't know what you call it. It's just like, it's too like shooty. I prefer to like, explore, kind of explore a story, read notes, collect keys, kind of that sort of stuff. Whereas Chris's one is just kind of, it's just too actiony. Like it's, I don't know. There's other games that do it a lot better than Resident Evil 6. And then the Jack and, is it Sherry? Yeah, the Jack and Sherry campaign then is just with that Ubastank or whatever, Hubastank the reason, or whatever the thing is chasing you all the time. I don't know. I just didn't like that one bit. It's okay though. It's like the story is very, very good in Resident Evil 6. Like it's an enjoyable story, but as a Resident Evil game, it's not a very good Resident Evil game. Revelations 2, I'm going to put that in. Revelations 2 just seems like a Code Veronica remake that they just turned into like a regular game. Again, it's in a episodic. It's quite confusing actually when you're playing it because you start off as Claire and Moira, um, Barry's daughter, Moira Burton, Barry Burton, and then you basically go through the story, but then you control Barry and this other little girl, as well, who like which the story takes place later than with Claire and Moira, so it's kind of a bit weird. Plus, like it's very kind of Silent Hill at the start as well. I don't really like that. I prefer like when Resident Evil is like a B movie, where it's trying to be like more like a B movie rather than like a psychological horror film. Because at the start of Resident Evil Revelations, it's all like the imagery is all like torture devices, and even the enemies are sort of like you know I don't know, they're just like horror movie villains as opposed to like the B movie kind of zombies. And even the monsters in Resident Evil are sort of like they're B movie zombies as well. They look like prosthetics, which kind of retains that sort of atmosphere that Resident Evil has. So Revelation 2, it's okay, not great. Now I don't like Resident Evil 7 at all. A lot of people they rave. They think it's the best Resident Evil game ever, and I can totally understand why, because the gameplay is excellent, the setting is really good as well, and the story is very well done. But for me, I just don't like the first person view. I just can't stand it. I prefer the third person, either the static backgrounds or the over the shoulder, that sort of view. I don't know why that is. I just don't like the first person view. I think it's from playing, first person shooters, and I just don't like first person shooters. It just takes, I don't know, it just takes the immersion away when you can't see the character. I'm not really too sure what it is, but I don't know. Resident Evil 7, it's okay for me, but it's just I don't really like it. So what can you do? I think that'll differ from a lot of other people's tier list on this. Right, Resident Evil 2 remake. That is an S, definitely. That is an excellent, fantastic game. I played Resident Evil Remake 2 so much now that I'm actually trying to speedrun it, to get like a decent time. But yeah, loved it. Obviously, there's a lot I wish they had done, more. Like in Resident Evil 2 Remake, I wish they had made Leon and Claire interact more, because like that was something that was kind of, it wasn't really touched on in the first game. Like what makes Resident Evil Zero so good for me is that you have two characters. I know a lot of people say, oh, in a survival horror game you're supposed to be on your own, but I mean, why do you have to be on your own? Why can't you have like a partner? That's why Resident Evil 5 I think is excellent as well, because you have a partner. But Zero, that's what makes it really good. So if they did something like that, or just have them interact more in Resident Evil 2 Remake, I thought it would be better. But like graphically, it's just on another level. Resident Evil 2 Remake, the lighting and even the upgrades they're making to the PC version now, it just looks so good. Fantastic game. Even the introduction of a bit more about Marvin, and even I know the Ghost Survivors is not in my opinion, it's not a good mercenary mission. Just like Resident Evil 4 has the best mercenary mission, Resident Evil 2 has like the worst mercenary missions, because they're too hard, and it's all about time. I know it's all about practicing as well, but I don't really like it. I like to relax with my Resident Evil games. Resident Evil 3 remake. Then I'm going to put here at A. Now a lot of people hate Resident Evil 3 remake because as a remake, in comparison to Resident Evil 1 remake, it's probably one of the worst remakes ever of a game. Because Resident Evil 3 is an excellent game, really, really good game, really enjoyable, loads of puzzles. And then Resident Evil 3 remake, then there's no puzzles whatsoever, and it's more like a DLC of Resident Evil 2. But as a game on its own without being a remake, I think it's a really good game. I really enjoy it. It's really short, which I like because I don't want to spend like ages and ages at a lot of games, because then I can get a chance to play another game. And there is like a bit of a replay value with the currency system, where you have to kill a certain amount of zombies, complete the game in a certain amount of time as well. So it is, if you think of it as more like an kind of a DLC or just an add-on to Resident Evil 3, then it is an excellent game. But as a remake, it's awful. Resident Evil Village as well. Similarly, I'm gonna put down into D there. I just don't like the first person ones with Ethan. It's an old, like, the stories are good in them, but I don't know. They're just not for me. I prefer the cheesy sort of B movie style of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 and those sort of games, even Resident Evil 1 as well. I prefer those as opposed to the sort of kind of more realistic. Well, not realistic, but as in Resident Evil 7 with the family, and they have the sort of the Jack Baker, and he's sort of like the Nemesis stand-in or the Mr. X stand-in, following you around and stuff like that. And then in Village, then they go kind of similar style, with Dimitrescu like following you around, and um the other characters as well, sort of having their own sort of areas. But I don't know, I just don't like it. Don't like the aesthetic. Also, another first-person one, Resident Evil Survivor. That is absolutely awful. It's a terrible game. It's actually, I watched someone playing it in a like with the static backgrounds, and the character walking around, and it actually looked a lot better. So the first person aesthetic in Resident Evil, I don't like it at all. The story in Gun Survivor makes no sense either. It's absolutely terrible. Resident Evil Gaiden on Game Boy Color, that's horrible as well. That makes no sense. It's not canon either. Um, and it's just not a very good game. I do applaud what they tried to do though, because the limited resources of the Game Boy Color, they made it more of a, not an RPG, but kind of like an old-fashioned RPG kind of style. Not as in leveling up characters, but more like the way you interact with zombies. It's like when you're playing golf and you have to hit the thing at the right time. I applaud that, but everything else, I didn't like it at all. Now Resident Evil Dead Aim. Um, Actually, I quite like Resident Evil Dead Aim. I'm still gonna leave it in C. No, I'll put it up here actually. I'll put it into B. So Resident Evil Dead Aim. A lot of people don't like Resident Evil Dead Aim because it seems to be it seems to try and do something that didn't really work. So you have your character and you walk around, and then there wasn't really much effort put into the scenario either. You're on a ship. There is another character, Fong Ling. The audio is awful as well. It sounds like they're in a submarine or something, not a ship, when they're recording the audio. But the character is like, Dollar Store Leon and Dollar Store Ada. But I don't know. I like it. If you use, I haven't actually used a mouse, but you can apparently hook up a mouse to the PS2 and basically use a mouse as your cursor. But you're supposed to use a gun com with it. And I thought it was a really good idea. When you're shooting the zombies, you zoom in to like a first person kind of on-rail shooter, and then the rest of the game, then you're kind of going in third person. So like there's some exploration in third person, and then kind of shooting in first person. So it was a good idea, but it didn't really work out that well. But I still like it. I did not like Resident Evil Outbreak at all, or Resident Evil Outbreak File 2, which is just it's just the DLC for Resident Evil Outbreak. I didn't like that at all. Again, I didn't play it online with other people, and I've heard if you play it online with other people, that's where it gets really good. Outbreak. I really like the kind of the fan service that they did in Outbreak. Where you go to like the different areas from the games, and then it's like a different perspective, and you play as one of the Umbrella employees. That sort of stuff was really good, but in general it's not very good unless you're playing it online, obviously. Umbrella Chronicles I'll put into C because it's an on-rail shooter, and it's sort of like a reimagining of events from the different Resident Evil games. There is the shaky camera to contend with when you're playing it on Wii, but in general, I really like it because it goes back over the other areas. Similarly with I'd actually put Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles, and I'll put that in C as well. Again, it's better than Resident Evil or Brenner Chronicles, Darkside Chronicles, because you control like the different characters, slightly different characters than Umbrella Chronicles, and it gives you more of a story as well. And there's extra story where you go to like Russia and different places, and then you in Dark Knight Chronicles you can control Leon and Krauser, so you get a bit of a background on them as well. So when I saw it first, I was really excited, to revisit the old locations in Raccoon City. But it's an on-rail shooter, so I can't really put it that high. In a Resident Evil tier list, you can't really put an on-rail shooter that high. Mercenaries 3D, played a bit of it, didn't really like it. It's only like, well, it's not mini games, but it doesn't really have like a story around that. But it's just like it's just the mercenary missions, but for 3DS. Similarly, Operation Raccoon City, don't like that at all. I picked it up, and it's just a third person shooter with like limited Resident Evil sort of like not story wise. Story wise, it's in Raccoon City. It has a lot of the familiar characters from Resident Evil and all that, but gameplay wise, it's not what I'd enjoy in a Resident Evil game. I would enjoy it if it was a different game. If it wasn't Resident Evil, if it was a different game, I might enjoy it, like a cover shooter. But because it's Resident Evil, it just goes down there. Similarly, Umbrella Corps. I mean, come on, like, give us something to work with here. And Resident Evil Resistance, I think that's the one that comes with Resident Evil 3. That is terrible as well. That's like, I just don't like those sort of games. They're, some of them are very good. Like oh, not what's the one where it has a Resident Evil skin on it? Can't remember what it's called now, but it's not Left 4 Dead. Dead by Day. It might be Dead by Daylight. So you got like, you can control Leon, and I think it's Claire, and then you can be Nemesis, so you can be a bad guy in it. But yeah, those sort of ones where they're like online co-op games, I just don't like them. I prefer a single player campaign. And similarly, whatever this is, I haven't played that. I don't know what that is. Resident Evil Verse. I don't think that's out yet. Yeah, so basically that's my tier list here. So let me know what you think. Obviously I've got Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 0, and Resident Evil 2 Remake as S standard there. I might even put, actually I'm just going to switch Code Veronica up the top there because I really do love it so much. I remember playing it when I was a kid at Christmas, and I loved it. I might even put Resident Evil Remake at the top as well. Just because I will actually, because it's such an amazing remake. It's absolutely excellent. And then I'm going to leave those two there, and I think they're all fine there as well. Yeah, I think that's it. So that's my tier list. That's my relaxing tier list for Resident Evil Relaxation. So if you've got a tier list, let me know your tier list in the comment section below. Alternatively, just leave a comment about your favorite Resident Evil game. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you in the next video.